You started.
Yeah, folks, welcome to the studio of Johnny Lee Schell. This is the Jake Feinberg Show, and we're in for a treat today because another dear friend, guy who's been introduced earlier today, Tony Braunagel, drummer, has been working on a book on shuffles, and Dom Fumilaro has been asking about the progress of it for some time, and we vetted it on my show, and we're going to get a visual landscape and a preview. But, Tony, you're from Texas. You're very articulate about how you could have a Texas cat in Los Angeles playing a double shuffle, someone from Detroit playing the same thing, calling it a Chicago shuffle. You know, it's kind of, what's the difference? So take it away.
Well, nobody really owns it. One guy calls it a double shuffle, another guy calls it a Texas shuffle. And in Chicago, they might call it a Chicago shuffle or a lump shuffle or a box shuffle. And they all start to get mixed up together. There are distinctions, and today I'll play 3 different distinctions of shuffles out of the 6, which are going to be in my book. This is my good friend and musical partner, Johnny Lee Schell.
Yeah, Johnny, how are you, brother?
I'm ready to rock.
All right, man. Johnny Lee, and we're in the studio here.
We played on many records together and produced and engineered and worked on many records right here in the studio in Ultratone Studios. And anyhow, you're getting a little bit behind the scenes here. So we'll just play a double shuffle first for about, 5 or 6 courses. All right?
Do it.
1, 2.
Johnny?
Some purists might say the double shuffle should be. Okay, because I've had people come back on the internet and tell me that's what it was and demonstrate it, which I agree. But then when you grease it up, that's what it becomes.
Grease.
And like I say, that could be from Texas, Chicago, Detroit, and you'll see guys all over the country, now all over the world, playing variations of that exact particular shuffle.
How long did it take you personally to? I mean, nobody owns the shuffle, but how did you own your signature groove when you were able to get comfortable playing it?
I don't feel like I own it. I mean, I think I've gotten it down pretty well. I don't think it's even mastered. I just think I've just it's something that I've done since I was really, really young. It was one of the first things I had to learn to do in the musical climate that I came up in the musical surroundings, the style of music that was being played back then. And there was a lot of that there, so I had to learn to play those. And
you also went to the gospel, the sanctified church.
Well, then when we're talking about this, I mean, this batch that we're talking about today, one of my other favorite things to play, which is not really considered a shuffle, but it is a shuffle if you think about how it notates, is my favorite from the Bobby Bland, Don't Cry No More and stuff like that. And so the stuff that John Jabo Starks played on that sanctified stuff. You see, that's masterful. That taught a whole bunch of us what we need to try to figure out, how to learn to do. and I'm still humbled by it, and I know many people are as well. I know some players that play it really, really well, but I know a lot of people that struggle to play it, and they're trying to learn how to do it. I myself still look at it like a student, and still try to play it the same way. So we'll play you a little bit of that. It's a double time feel of sorts,
I just want to ask Johnny one question.
Uh-huh.
What's the hardest thing about playing a shuffle? Because some people would say it doesn't look hard, but what is the hardest part?
It's not hard. I think it's very easy.
Well, then let's get to it.
Well, a lot of people think it's hard because they play it stiff, but to make it swing, you gotta understand.
It has to kind of lope.
Yeah.
It has to lope.
Yeah, it's kind of. It's got a certain pulse to it, and once you figure that out, then you got it made.
All right, so which one are we going to hear right now?
You're going to hear the Sanctified. We'll do like the outro of Yield Not or something like that. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Wow.
It gets pretty intense, and if you look at a sort of church full of people dancing to that with about 20 tambourines going and about 100 people clapping, it gets pretty amazing.
Why if it's a feel thing and it's something that is, what is the impetus to write about it? Talk about why a book is needed.
Well, because this one it's kind of a lost art, I think. I don't think.
Why is it a lost art?
Because not a lot of people play this, and I don't think this was carried on in the tradition as much. I don't think if you went into a church today, where you would see modern gospel, I'm not sure they'd be playing that shuffle because I don't think that rhythm's played anymore. And that came out of that music of that period of the 50s and 60s where it was commercialized on Bobby Bland and T-Bone Burnett and not T-Bone Burnett, T-Bone Walker and records of that period. Some of the stuff that came out of Duke and Peacock, probably some stuff out of Chess. I'm sure we could probably find a Sanctified Shuffle out of that bunch. But mainly, the guy who owns it that was the most famous for it is John Jabo Starks. And, he was the master at that. And he made it look like there was nothing to it.
What's the new rhythm in the church these days?
I'm not sure. Really, I wouldn't try to. We should get a young gospel player in here to tell you about that. So,
well, right on.
The last thing we got here is called it's a stumble shuffle, and I discovered this a long time ago just from different sorts of songs that I played back when I was a kid and coming up, different artists and whatnot, but. Some years ago, in the mid '90s or something like that, we recorded one record with Taj, one in particular that had.
It was a T-Bone Walker.
It was a T-Bone Walker song. Thrill.
Hustle. The
hustle is on. Yeah.
Hustle is on.
The hustle is on.
The hustle is on.
Times is hard and
times are hard.
Hustle's really on.
Hustle's really on. Yeah. So.
Prices. All something about. Prices are getting high and all the good jobs.
For the peeps out there, it's sort of like the actual motion of just stumbling along.
And some people call it flat tire shuffle. I'm sure it's got another name. As I said, once again, all of these shuffles are going to get different names in different regions by different people. They congregate and go. They call it something.
Right. That's right. I dig.
Over there, they call it something else. That goes back to my original disclaimer.
Absolutely.
So we'll just play a little bit of the stumble shuffle. But a one, a two, a 1, 2.
Tasty note to end on. Dom Fumolaro book is on the way. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Johnny Lee.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll see you all
Thanks,
later.
Jake.
All right. Cheers.